So to start us out this week, we are going to be making spaghetti and meat sauce. And we're going to be doing this a little differently because we're going to be making it in the oven. So we're going to start with 1 yellow onion and just dice that up and mince up 3 cloves of garlic. Now over to our pot, we are just going to heat up some olive oil and brown 1 pound of ground beef and a half a pound of ground sausage. You can use mild, you can use hot, whatever you prefer. Once that meat is nice and cooked through, we are going to add in our onion and we are going to saute it for just a couple minutes, and then we are actually going to cover this up and cook it on low for about 5 minutes. That's gonna release all of the natural moisture in the onions and get it really into the meat. Now, once that 5 minutes is up, add in your garlic, give that a good mix, and cook it for about a minute until the garlic is fragrant. Now we are going to add in a whole can of tomato paste, which is 6 ounces, and 2 tablespoons of beef better than bouillon. This will give the dish a cooked all day kind of flavor, and we are only taking about 35 minutes to make this dish. Now add in a tablespoon of the Italian seasoning, a half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Honestly, just use it to your liking. If you don't like it that spicy, then you don't have to add that much. You don't have to add it at all. You can add more if you like it spicy. Now just give this a good stir until it becomes that beautiful red color. Now we're going to add in a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes along with a 28-ounce can of just water, 2 teaspoons of salt, and also 2 teaspoons of sugar. If you don't know, sugar helps cut the acidity of all of those tomatoes. And then I've got 2 tablespoons of fresh basil that I'm also throwing in here. Now just give it a good stir so everything is really well combined. Now here I have 12 ounces of spaghetti. A pro tip: don't try to break all of the spaghetti at one time. Take a handful of maybe 12 to 15 noodles instead. This way those little pieces don't go flying everywhere. And just do it in sections like this. Once your pasta is all broken up and in your pot, make sure that you submerge all of the pasta. It is going to ensure that everything cooks nice and even. To our preheated oven, I preheated it at 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and we are going to bake this covered for 18 minutes. Now we are going to be checking it every 5 minutes just so we can stir everything up. Now it is important that we do this step and we don't skip it, because then all of your noodles will just start sticking together and become a big mess. So it's important to, at the 5-minute point and the 10-minute point, to make sure that you stir it. Now at the 10-minute point, you will see that the noodles are starting to get a little bit more bendy. They are taking on all of the sauce and absorbing it. And then by the time the 18 minutes are up, it is going to be absolute perfection. We absolutely love making this pasta dish like this. It's so good, and it really does taste like it's been cooking on the stove all day long. Now once I plated it up, I just topped it with some fresh parsley, and this meal was so good. I really hope you try this one. It really is amazing. Next up, we're going to be making skillet sausage and veggies. This is a great way to use up all of the veggies that you have to use before they go bad. I am honestly just using the things that I had on hand, so feel free to make this recipe your own. But as for what I used, I have a few carrots here along with some broccoli and some mixed potatoes. Now I have our sausage, which is the star of the show in my opinion. I just cut them into coins. Now I have some green beans as well, and I'm just going to snap off the tops and the bottoms. And of course, I completely forgot that I wanted to use a red onion because I feel like onion in this dish is just a must. So I sliced up one red onion as well. Now over to my skillet. I have it over a medium-high heat, and I am just going to brown my sausage on both sides. Once my sausage is all brown, I am actually going to take it out of the pan, and then we are going to add in our potatoes as well as our onions, and I am just going to season it with a little bit of salt and pepper just so it can help the cooking process. And I'm just going to cook that for about 5 minutes until the onions are nice and soft and the potatoes have a nice color to them. Now I'm going to add in a tablespoon of minced garlic or 2 garlic cloves, and just cook that for a minute, not too long because you don't want the garlic to burn. Now for our seasonings, I'm going to add in a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and a teaspoon of paprika. And then, of course, all of our delicious veggies have to go in there, so I'm just going to add them one at a time and give everything a really good stir. Of course, add in your sausage, give everything a good stir, and make sure everything is nice and well combined. I preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and we are going to cook this for about 20 to 25 minutes, or until the potatoes are tender and everything is really cooked through. And here is what our dish came out like. It was so good, and I loved that I got to use up all the veggies in my fridge. Next up, we're going to be making one pot lasagna. This is so good and comes together pretty quickly as well. Now we are just going to dice up 1 yellow onion and mince 3 cloves of garlic. Over to our pot, we are just going to add in about a tablespoon of olive oil and cook your onions for about 3 minutes until they are nice and tender. Whenever I am cooking my onions, I always add a small dash of salt. This way it helps with the cooking process. It helps break it down and make them nice and soft. Now we're going to add in 1 pound of ground beef, and I'm just going to break that up with my little meat masher, whatever you want to call it. And then we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, a teaspoon of salt, and a half a teaspoon of pepper. Stir that up real good and cook until the beef is all browned. Now, once the beef is completely cooked through, we're going to add in our garlic and cook that for about 30 seconds to a minute until the garlic becomes fragrant. Now here I have 3 cups of beef broth, but I am only going to put in 2.5 cups of it right now, and I'm going to reserve this other half for my pasta jar. So what I mean by that is we're going to dump this pasta jar as a 24-ounce jar. Use your favorite pasta sauce, and I am going to use that other half a cup of beef broth to mix it with this jar so I can get all of that tomato sauce out. Give that a good shake and add it right into the pot. Here I have about 12 ounces of lasagna noodles that I just took and I broke up into bite-sized pieces. Now I do suggest using regular lasagna noodles and not the no-boil kind. That texture will not be the right texture for you. So we want to make sure that all of our lasagna noodles are nice and submerged in the sauce, and we're going to cover that up and simmer it on low for about 7 minutes or until the pasta is nice and tender. Once the time is up, take the top off, let all that condensation from the top go right back into the pot. And now I'm adding in a half a cup of heavy cream. This is going to make it so creamy, so delicious. Give that a really good stir. I have 2 cups of mozzarella cheese here. I'm actually going to take half of a cup and I'm going to mix that right into the pasta mixture and give that a really good stir. Then we are going to use some ricotta cheese, and I have about 15 ounces of ricotta cheese here, and I'm just going to dollop that all over the top of this delicious pasta mix, and then top it with your other cup and a half of mozzarella cheese. And I'm also using 1 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. Put your lid back on and just cook for another minute or 2 until the cheese is all melted. Of course, I need a pop of color, so I am just topping it with some fresh parsley. And this is what our dish came out like. It was so good. It was a little bit on the soupier side, but it was still really delicious. Next up, we're going to be making slow cooker baked potato soup, and let me tell you guys, this is literally the best loaded potato soup I have ever made, and it's so easy. So we're going to start with 4 cups of finely diced potatoes, and then we are going to use 1 yellow onion. Now in our slow cooker, we are just going to add in our potatoes and our onion. Do your best to make sure that everything is cut to the same size. This way they all cook evenly. Now I'm going to add in a half a tablespoon of salt and a half a tablespoon of pepper, along with 4 cups of chicken broth. And we're just going to cover this up and cook it on low for 6 hours, or you can cook it on high for 3 hours. Cheating a little bit with this recipe because I did say it's 1 pot, but this is making all the difference in this recipe by making the roux in another pot. I'm just going to melt 4 tablespoons of butter, and then I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of flour. Now we're just going to cook that for about a minute or 2 until all of that raw flour is completely cooked. Then I'm adding in a 1/4 cup of sour cream along with 1.5 cups of heavy cream. Now when you put the heavy cream in, make sure you are mixing as you go. This way it does not get clumpy at all. Even though this is going to use an extra pan, I promise you it is worth it at the end. So we're just going to take our lid off after our soup is done cooking and add in our roux. Give this a really good mix until everything is really well combined. And you only have to cook this another 10 minutes on high or low or whatever you have it on. Then I am going to take a potato masher and I am just going to mash up half of the potatoes. There's no reason to mash all of them, but I'm telling you guys, you top it with your favorite toppings. And I used cheddar cheese, green onions, some bacon, and it was so creamy, so delicious, and sticks to your ribs. It's so filling. For our final recipe, we're going to be making honey garlic chicken and veggies, and this is a super easy weeknight meal. So we're going to start with 1 yellow onion, 1 cup of carrots, 1.5 cups of diced potatoes, and 5 cloves of minced garlic. Now I am going to make our sauce real quick, which is super easy. Just 1 cup of chicken broth, a half a cup of honey, a 1/4 cup of ketchup, and a half a cup of soy sauce, and then of course the minced garlic. And then I'm going to use my handy dandy whisk here, which is so cool. I will have it linked below. So it's just push it up and down and it kind of just whisks everything together for you. And just put that mixture to the side. We will use it in a little bit. Now over to our skillet. I am using a very heavy bottom skillet. I'm putting in a tablespoon of olive oil along with a tablespoon of butter. We are just going to melt that until it gets nice and bubbly. And then I am just going to be searing my chicken just for a couple minutes per side. This way it gets a nice color on it. And you will see that I forgot to season it with my salt and pepper before I put it in. So I am going to season it now. This way it's nice and flavorful. And I am just using simple salt and pepper. You don't need to go too fancy with seasonings here because there is so much in this dish that is going to cook into just complete deliciousness. So once your chicken is ready to be flipped, you will know because it will not stick to the pan. A lot of people try to flip it too early, and that's when the skin and stuff like that gets stuck to the pan. So when you notice it comes off easily, it means that it is nice and seared. Same pan, I am going to add in my potatoes and my carrots, and we are just going to cook that for about 5 minutes until it is a little soft, and then we're going to remove that from the pan. Going to add in our onions. This way they didn't burn with the potatoes and the carrots, and you're just going to cook them for about 3 minutes until they get nice and translucent. Now we are just going to add in that delicious sauce mixture that we made, and just scrape the bottom of the pan as you go because there is tons of flavor from searing the chicken there. Now you're going to add back in the potatoes and the carrots, give that a good mix, and let that come to a simmer. Once that liquid has reduced by half, that's when we're going to add in our chicken again and just spoon over that sauce over all of that chicken. In our oven, I did preheat it to 450 degrees. We are going to cook this for about 18 minutes or until it is completely cooked through. I used some fresh parsley to garnish, and this dish is so amazing, you guys. It came together in about 35-40 minutes, and it was really delicious. Everything in one pan, and just such a great weeknight meal when you're busy. So that's gonna do it for today's video. And if you like this kind of content, I would love to have you part of the family. Hit that subscribe button as well as the notifications, and hit that like button as well. It will help out my channel so very much. I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.